Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to take the burl that we cut off a few videos ago and we're going to create something with the small side of it. Stay tuned, find out what. You know why you should stay tuned and find out what? Because I have no idea what we're making out of it. We're going to make it as we go. So we'll find out. I'll find out with you. So, we cut this burl off like 2-3 episodes ago. I don't know. But we cut it off and I stopped where we were at because the burl's like super cool. It's got a lot of cool grain in it. I want something real special with it. I've been thinking on it for like a week now. And I think today I want to start small, literally small. I'm going to start with the small little offshoot growth thing of it and see if I can make a small, like either cup or measuring spoon or something out of it. It's basically just going to be a small little bowl. What we can use it for, I don't know until we dig it in there. Problem is there's a lot of rot in it, so we're going to figure out what's usable after it. I'm going to try to chip away some of it and see what's really solid in there, and if we can even make anything with it at all. Okay, so this is the burl we cut off. I've got it clamped to the bench, but it's like a round burl, so I don't know how well these clamps are gonna hold. I've got like this like clamp holding this on, like barely on an edge, and then like this clamp holding it to the bench. It's like super just yeah, rigged. So what I'm gonna do is today, this is the big burl underneath, the big kind of round. We had the small one. So today I'm gonna focus on getting the small one out. I don't know how much material is in here. So this kind of stuff here, it feels pretty hard, but I have a feeling once I start like carving it, that it's going to chip away pretty easy, and that's soft, and we don't want it too soft. So I want to carve a lot of this out, open it up into like a bowl shape, and use the back side as like the round, the outside of the bowl. And then I'll cut it off here. But for now, I'm going to keep it on the burl so I can work on this a little bit and chisel out as much of this as I can. To do that, we're going to use my carving kit and a couple of different gouges and things to get that out. So we want to start with this. Put that whole kit away, so I'm going to pull out this strap and get this thing kind of stropped up a little bit. Always make sure your blades are sharp. Before you start anything, because a dull tool is a dangerous tool. Why, Matt? Why is a dull one? I feel like a sharp one would be more dangerous. Nope. A dull one slips off the wood and goes into your hand and cuts you. A sharp one digs in and cuts where you want it to. So this is the blade side. I'm just going to strap this side, kind of rotating like this as I go. We'll do like 50 straps. So you could do this on like a belt or just a regular piece of leather. The compound just helps it go faster. If you didn't have the compound, you'd have to strap like 4 or 5 times as much. But for now, we'll just do, I don't know, 50, 60, 70 straps. And you'll notice like when you I'm going to do a sharpening video in the future. I almost did it this weekend, but show you how to bring your blade up to razor sharp. Start with stones and work your way up, but this is like the finished process and the maintenance process. As long as you don't damage your blades, you should be able to strap your blades back to sharp. You shouldn't need to use the stone constantly. If you are using the stone, you're being way too hard on your blades. So let's bring that up to sharp. This will polish it almost like a mirror finish. Like that. And that's sharp. And you can almost feel just a little wire on the back side. You could run that just like that just to pop that off, but she is sharp and ready to go. All right. So to get started, we're just going to come in here and try chiseling out some of this around this hole here. So I'm just going to come in and just pop off little bits of wood. And we can come at it from different angles, whatever the wood's telling you it wants to do. So this initial stuff is going to be hard on your blade. Why that is this outer stuff has a bunch of grit and dirt and just nastiness in it from sitting out exposed to elements. And that's how you damage a blade. I'll just give this big talk. Oh, did that fall perfect or what? It didn't even touch the blade. Nice. Jeez, Matt. I'm trying not to like stab myself with this clamp, and I'm gonna wind up dropping my tools. So this is pretty solid in here, to be honest. That was a little soft. As I say things, and there go all the clamps. Well, there was a good start. Okay, well, let's think about this. What if we did that? Put a couple screws in there. Maybe a little. Okay, so this is just a piece of MDF. It is probably not going to be anywhere near as strong enough to hold that in place that we need, but it'll get these clamps out of our way and it will allow us to work where you guys can see a little bit better. Like doing this with the camera here is like so hard to not bump into the camera. All right, we're back at it. Let's see how long this lasts. This is a lot of harsh hammering. See, there's the camera. There's a big old chunk off. So surprisingly, I thought the inside of this would have a lot more rot to it, but this is really solid. So I was honestly hoping it would be a little more rotted because cutting all this out is not going to be an easy task. I thought it would just chip off a little bit easier, but it's in there pretty good. I'm going to switch to that other gouge because I feel like that is going to be a little sharper. Just keep chiseling away at it, carving away, getting down to clean wood. And I'll come back when we're somewhere other than this. Of course I start when somebody drives by there side by side. Okay, so I've basically been taking this kind of bowl gouge and running around it, carving out all of the rot and the dead down the fresh wood This in here, it's pretty deep. It's still soft in here, but I want to say, I'm looking at the depth, we might be reaching the inside of this burl, which I really don't want to. I can cut a little deeper, but I don't want to lose too much of this outside. A lot of this is going to come off, but I don't want to get to the point where it's going to affect the other burl. So that's kind of the prize, right? But I think we'll have enough. If we cut close, it should be enough to get through. If anything, I'll put a little epoxy in down there or something, but I don't want to go too much thinner than this. This is deceiving. If I pinch down here, you know, you're probably maybe about 1/2 inch all the way around, but I still have to carve the outside of this. So I want to get it maybe down to maybe 1/4 inch all the way around. So I'm going to carve that, and then this kind of edge here it folds under and goes in. So I'll have to round all this, carve all this dead out, and start curving it around, and then I can carve the outside. I'll carve this on here maybe, and then cut it off, and then start doing the outside to kind of get all this stuff off, because this outside is really soft. So hopefully, you know, I can get all that soft stuff off and get down to some harder wood to get down to the bottom of that. But that's where we're at after about, I don't know, I'd say an hour of carving and scraping all that stuff out. So not too bad. So we will, here's the inside a little bit better for you. There, you probably didn't see any of that. So here's the inside a little bit better for you. There's that soft spot I'm talking about. It's pretty small. We're down to like a fingertip width, and I feel like that's the bottom of it. But again, we need at least 1/4 inch on the other side of wood to get to. So worst case, if that does poke through, I'll put some epoxy in there and kind of fill that hole, which would suck because you'll lose the inside of the, you know, that beautiful grain that's going to pop out. But it is what it is if we want to salvage it.
3 days later.
Okay, we're back. So basically I took this, and, well, a combination of this and then this gouge, these two gouges, and basically went around. I tried to clear out as much of the wood as I could in here. I started chipping off basically just the bark on here, and trying to smooth it out a little bit on this outer edge. And then, can't see it, but basically took this guy and went behind here and kind of just cleaned that up and just scraped the bark off, essentially. So it's almost to the point where I'm going to cut it off the burl. But before I do that, because this has taken so long, this is like a week later, by the way, from the last clip that you saw. But I've been chiseling and hacking away at it, but it's super hard, and it's kind of being kind of hard on the blades. So to kind of just smooth some stuff around a little bit, I'm going to switch to the Dremel. So I've got this little like shaper carving bit. I'm just going to kind of come in here and smooth some things out while it's still mounted to this, and I can get to it a little bit easier and try to shape and kind of round over this edge a little bit. So I'm going to do that now, and then I'll come back when that's done, and we'll cut it off the burl, and then we can flip it around. So that's way the inside will be pretty much done, or at least shaped and smooth, and then we'll flip it around and do the outside. So we'll be back when we do that. All right, so we kind of smoothed everything out, got all that kind of nastiness out, kind of even things out. It's not perfect, but I don't feel any like giant ridges or anything in here still. So all the rot is pretty much out. We started to get a little bit of shape around this edge. We're still going to take a lot of this outside edge out as we thin it out, but I can feel in here, some of these spots in here are already pretty thin between the inner and outer wall. So I want to get this thing off and flip it around and see what I have to do to shape this outside edge before I take this inside down anymore. But I'm assuming a lot of this kind of rounded over stuff here is going to come off as I shape the bottom side. So let's get the saw out. Let's get this unmounted, flip it over so we can get the handsaw and cut this thing off and hopefully be able to clear this bottom section without having to pour epoxy. I think we're gonna cut a little bit into the main burl, but not enough to where it's gonna be a problem. So hopefully, we'll see, fingers crossed. Either way, it's gonna be pretty thin here, so I won't be able to shape too much at the bottom, but we'll see. All right, let's get this cut. I'm not poking through, it's gonna be so close there. Oh, we're gonna poke through. I can see it. Well, epoxy it is. Right there. So yeah, just a little hole there. Just came out the bottom, so that stinks, but we can put some tape over that, pour some epoxy, and kind of build a little bit of a base here. It is what it is, but I didn't want to lose too much more of this main burl because you know, even you can see that rat's still even going in there a little bit. So I wonder how much. Yeah, it's that much deeper. So that means that much. It's a good 1/4 inch. Has got to come off before I can even get to solid wood as I'm carving this out. So, well, it's okay. We'll make the best of it. So let's get rid of that now. There is our burl, our small burl. So like you can see here, there's some cracks, so right, so I'm going to epoxy that. I'll put some epoxy there, but for the most part I've got the bark off here. I've still got a bunch to remove over here, but you could see just, I don't know if you could see it in the camera. I hope you can. The amount of like figure and grain that's going to be in this. It's going to be so cool when it's sanded and oiled. So let's see if we can get some of this shaped a little bit. I don't know, it's kind of cool like that, to be honest. And it sits flat, right? It is kind of cool. Maybe if we round that out a little bit here and just kind of round it and keep this as like a base. Like look at that, it just kind of sits cool on the desk or a table. That would be kind of neat, kind of shaped like that. So maybe I keep this flat. It sits nice. I'll pour some epoxy to make sure it doesn't, you know, there's a hole through. And then maybe just kind of flare this out a little bit more, give it a little more shape. So, all right, I'm going to carve on this for a little bit, get some of this bark off, and I'll be back when I've made some progress. Okay, so we've got this little crack to fill, and then obviously the hole at the bottom. A couple other little like bug holes and things, just air pockets I want to fill. Probably with just super glue. The little divots and things I'll go around and spray with super glue and kind of fill those in and stabilize those cracks a little bit. All right, so for super glue, just got some Tite Bond thick wood super glue, and then a can of activator, which if you've never used activator on super glue, you have been waiting way too long. But basically, as soon as this stuff hits the thioacrynate, which is super glue, as soon as this hits it, it immediately cures it. It's like a hardener, but super fast. Trying not to sneeze here. There it is. Whew, it's dusty in here. Okay, so fill these in, and I'll go around and kind of fill them all in, and then I'll come through and sand it. But just a little bit of, I think that's all you need, just a little squirt. I'm not even going to show you because I got all excited there for a second. As I sprayed this in, you know, just that little bit of water got the grain wet, and oh man, is this thing going to be cool. Just this little thing is getting me so excited to build that big Burl. I'm hoping it's stable in there. That's my only fear. But that it's going to need just a ton of stabilizing to like get the wood, you know, so that it doesn't fall apart. But I really am going to make a cool kuksa out of that. Again, I don't know if you saw my previous video, but a kuksa, if you don't know what a kuksa is, it's like a wooden cup or bowl. I like to take a kuksa with me when I go camping and stuff. Just no particular reason, but I like drinking my coffee out of it in the morning and stuff. It's good, kind of cool. So I'm just little divots and pits in the wood, stuff that doesn't look stable or that looks a little soft. Basically just hitting it with a little bit of the super glue, and that's gonna make this real solid. We'll stabilize those cracks a little bit so they won't crack anymore. I did let this dry, so when I took my initial cut, I did dry, so like this crack here is too big for super glue. You're only super gluing little tiny things like kind of like that. So what was I saying? Oh yeah, so wood dries, right? And when it dries fast, it cracks. So when you are doing carvings like this that are like fairly green, because this had some moisture in it for sure, I'll cut a bit, expose some fresh green, and it'll start to immediately dry as you're working it. And the thinner it gets, it'll dry faster. You don't want it to dry too fast. If wood dries too fast, you'll get stress cracks and things. So you need to kind of control that stress. So I take mine and put it in like a gallon Ziploc bag or something, or wrap it up in like a grocery bag. You know, just something plastic to kind of slow that drying process a little bit. You want it to dry, but you want it to not dry too fast. I'm trying not to let you guys see the grain that much because it's going to be cool when you do. That was a thin spot here. So these little divots, when we oil it, that we're filling in with super glue right now, those will come out almost black. So it'll give it a little bit of depth and character. Alright, so we've got everything kind of glued up, super glued up. We're going to pour the epoxy now and let that cure before I sand it too much more. Probably let it cure overnight. I'll come back tomorrow and let it, and then kind of finish sand it. This is 5-minute, just Gorilla Glue, clear epoxy, but I'm going to let it sit overnight anyway. So, you need like they make like a special tape for epoxy pours and things. This isn't going to be by any means an epoxy pour, but I don't have that tape, so I'm just kind of using some Gorilla duct tape for the time being, kind of putting it on the bottom and sealing up that hole there, and that should be good enough. I don't think we're not pouring like a ton of liquid here, so I don't think it will come undone. Okay, so Gorilla Glue, clear epoxy. Kind of break off the end. Save this if you are using this, because this little end that goes on here has little nubs in there, and that actually goes back on to seal it when you're done. So basically it's two parts. You got your epoxy and then a hardener. We're going to pour it on. Quite a bit. Okay, set that aside. Now you got to mix this before you put it in, but what I'm going to mix it with, I'm going to put some of the sawdust shavings that we had in from our sanding and mix some of that in. So kind of just pressing this down in the hole. I don't want to go too high up with it, but just kind of pressing it down at the bottom make sure it gets in all of the little cracks and crevices and grooves. And let that rest. I think I want to do a little more though. That looks like that in there, but I don't know how thick that is. I want it to be, I mean, not that I'm putting liquid in this or anything, but you know, it's like 4 degrees today outside, so everything in the garage is like super cold and thick. Like that is taking a lot more effort than it should to get out of there. Alright, I want sawdust, but I don't want big chunks. Okay, just spreading it around a little bit, filling in that hole in the bottom, getting in any crevices or cracks that are in the inside of the bowl. Kind of smoothing it the best I can. Obviously we're going to have to come back in and sand it, but the smoother you get it, the easier it'll be to sand later. It is liquid, so you know, it'll float a little bit and try to smooth it out best you can. But that's probably good. That's the inside. So we're gonna let that sit and cure up overnight. All right, so I'm gonna let this sit, cure up overnight, 24 hours, and then I think that'll be the end of this video. I'll do another video maybe next week or later this week where we'll finish it. So I'm gonna let this dry tonight. I'll come back tomorrow. I'll sand it, get like a final sand on it and get everything smooth, and then we'll oil it and buff it and try to bring out that grain. But that'll be all for today. If you like this content, appreciate it. Subscribe, click the thumbs up, like, comment, all that fun stuff. I do appreciate it. And I'll see you on the next one.